Thank you, and good afternoon to Sharon and all of you at the conference. This is indeed a great opportunity for me to engage with you on this virtual medium. I'm told that the theme for this year's ORAFEST is Embrace the Change. And what better way than embracing the change right from the word go in creating a virtual conference? Although it looks very simple and very comfortable for all of us when we are logging in and logging out on this Zoom platform, I'm sure some of you who are on the other side of organizing will agree with me that this is not as easy as it is said. In that context, I would like to begin my address by congratulating and also expressing my gratitude to all the division directors, the area directors, and every other Toastmaster leader who has contributed in making this experience for members a phenomenal one and a memorable one. I may not be able to take names, but I would like to express my gratitude to everyone because it is very, very difficult. Trust me when I say this because I am just coming out in the last few weeks from such an experience. Let me give you my own story to begin with. 15th of March 2020, we were told that the schools have to be shut down for the next 15 days. As we were trying to understand and decode that piece of information, because you got to understand, March is a very busy month in any school in this country. It's a time for examinations, assessments, new admissions, and the academic planning for the next academic year. Everything was put to a halt, and overnight they told us to close down. And when we were trying to figure out when do we come back next, we were hit with this lockdown storm. Lockdown 1, lockdown 2, and lockdown 3. And now we are gearing up for lockdown number 4. But let me tell you this. As I speak today, schools are only closed, but the learning has never stopped. It's the building that has shut down, but the mind and the heart of every teacher and student is open. How did this happen? It happened because each one of us made a conscious choice to embrace the change. This is the new normal, and we have been hearing this day in and day out wherever we go in terms of the online world. And let me also tell you a secret. The teachers, till recently, who had a fear of even creating a personal email account, is today on the Zoom or Google Classrooms or Microsoft Team platform or any other technological solution engaging with her children and her class. I have said this umpteen number of times in the past 3 weeks, and I would like to repeat it here on record that my respect to all the teachers has doubled, if not tripled, because of this single gesture of rising up to the occasion and standing up for their commitment. Now, that's the story from my life. What's the story from your life? I'm sure as we sit here today, we are making a lot of changes in our life to adjust, to adapt, and to acclimatize to this particular new normal. In that context, my friends, we need to look at the tagline of this conference, which is also the subject line for my keynote: embrace the change. We've all heard of this saying, change is the only constant in life. I want you to focus on that word. Make no mistake, I don't want you to focus on the word change. I want you to focus on the word life, although both appear in the same quote. Our lives, as we speak, has changed. And let me tell you this, what we are experiencing today is not going to remain the same in the next 10 days. This life of ours is going to change and is changing faster than usual. It has got accelerated in every sphere of our life. But what is the true meaning of life? What is the true definition of life? Is there a definition for life? If there is one, what is it? Let's together define life with the help of a small story. This story is of David Hartman, a famous psychiatrist who went on to run a all-time famous radio show in the history of this world. But the story never began on that note. When David was 7 years old, he became blind. He was not born blind, but he became blind when he became 7. And since he had that first 6 years of life with light and eyesight, he could not tolerate the sudden darkness in his new life. He had to embrace the change, and he did it, but he struggled. So one day, when he was talking to his dad at the dining table, his dad was a banker, Fred Hartman. So David asks Fred, "Dad, I want to play baseball. Will I be able to play?" Listening intently to this question, Fred Hartman replies, "Well, let's try it and see. Do you want to try?" David says, "Yes, I want to try." The next 1 week goes in Fred training and teaching David baseball. You can imagine a blind boy struggling to make contact with his bat and the ball. But not too later, he realized a secret. And the secret was in a technique. Every time his father threw the ball towards David, he could actually hear to a whisper of the ball leaving his glove. And David started listening intently. And then every time he hears that whisper, he adjusts his bat and then looks at the direction of the ball and then tries to make contact. Several tries later, David succeeds, and the joy on his face was unexplainable. So once he made that first contact, it never took a lot of time for him to master the art. And within a short span of time, he goes on to become the captain of the baseball team in his school. So that's David and his father. His mother, the soft person of the family, but the stronger person of the family. Every time David was back home after the school and he used to feel scared of the darkness, he used to shout, he used to yell, and he used to make loud noises about feeling scared. And those times, mother used to come running to him, hug him tightly, and tell him, I know, darkness can be scary. But David, you got to look inside you. You got to look inside because inside you, there is no darkness. It's absolute brightness, and that inner strength is what you got to take it out and live your life with. That word, inner strength, stayed with David, and every time he used to face this darkness, he used to fight it out by pulling out that inner strength. That was his mother. And David was growing up between dad and mom and enjoying his childhood. But he had another character in his life. That was his sister by name Barbara. Now, she was not a mother or a father, she was a sibling. And we can all understand the rivalry which happens between siblings because of the extra attention some of them get and some of them don't get. So, Barbara was not kind to David. Every time David used to request her that I forgot my watch, I forgot my belongings in the room above, can you go get it? Barbara used to be quite a taskmaster. She used to yell at him and shout at him and say, "Well, I'm not your paid servant. Go, figure out your own way." Every time David heard "figure out your own way," he brought a resolve into his mind that he got to do things on his own. So these three people shaped David's early career or early childhood. Now, growing up, David makes a bold statement saying, "I will want to go to a normal school. I don't want to study in a special school or a braille school or a blind school." So parents are confused, but emotions rule some rational decisions. So they finally get him into a normal school. But David excels and surprises everyone. That newfound success and confidence makes David to declare in his new school that he's going to pursue medicine as his career. Now, this was a shocker for both the mother and the father. So when parents can't convince the children, they normally come to teachers. So parents of David, Fred, and his wife walks to his teacher, David's teacher, and tells the teacher, "Sir, can you do us a favor? Can you please come home this Sunday for lunch? And after lunch, take David up to his room and counsel him. Tell him that this choice, what he has made of studying medicine, may sound very ambitious, but it is not practical." Parent convinces the teacher, and teacher ends up at David's place the next Sunday. So after the heavy lunch and the fine platter, teacher and David walks up to the room, and there teacher starts counseling the boy that this ambition is highly impractical. Hearing to these words, David becomes very stubborn, and he starts resisting the teacher and says, "No, I want to do this. I have succeeded here. I have done well, and I want to really pursue medicine." Losing the patience, the teacher makes a very damaging statement. He says, "Why don't you listen to me? You are a handicap." That word, David did not take it well. Immediately, David retracts. He responds by saying, "Apart from the fact that I can't see, I have no handicap. And according to me, the most handicapped person in the world is that person who, in spite of having everything, cannot do anything." Yes, you heard me right. David said, the most handicapped person is that person who, in spite of having everything, cannot do anything. Now, that was a blow in the face for the teacher, and the teacher immediately walks out of the room, thanks the parents for the lunch, and then storms back. Parents understood that the teacher has failed and David has succeeded. They have no choice but to get him admitted to a medical college. Now the next step starts. Top 10 medical colleges in the United States, David applies to all of them. 8 of the top 10 colleges almost immediately sends them a reply that they cannot admit a blind child or a blind boy. Parents said, "We told you this, but you did not listen to us." But David never lost hope. He said, "There are 2 more colleges who are yet to respond." A week later, the 9th college also sends a reply saying they are sorry, they cannot admit him. For the first time, for the very first time in David's blind life, tears roll out of his eyes. And that day, David feels that the world has come to an end because his hopes were shattered. His sister, the taskmaster, comes to him, holds his hand, and takes him for a stroll on the beach. And as they are doing that, his mother comes running to the beach and stops them and tells them that you got a phone call from the Temple University of Medicine, the 10th in the list. And I want you to come back home to answer that call. So they come back. David speaks to the people on the other side of the phone, and the result is announced that they have finally agreed to give David a chance. On what basis? The professor at the Temple University of Medicine has argued among the board of directors who made the decision that if Olympics can be conducted for physically challenged people, the Paralympics, why can't physically challenged people attend a medical school? On this very argument, David gets a chance and he pursues medicine. Now, the next 5 years, how he pursues medicine is amazing. He could neither see nor dissect, but he was blessed with an art, with a gift. Remember the gift of the whisper of the ball leaving the glove of the father? His hearing skills or listening skills, as we say. And every time David kept the stethoscope, he could literally listen to the body organs of the patient speaking to him. And with that, David goes on to succeed and ace medical studies, and he becomes a famous, reputed psychiatrist in the college. So now he's a psychiatrist, he's yet to be given a certificate, and there comes the graduation day. So on the graduation day, his dean of the Medical College of Temple University of Medicine walks up to David, holds his hand, gets him onto the stage, and then makes this statement at the dais. He says, well, today history is being made in our university, for we have for the first time, a blind boy graduating medical college with flying colors. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for none other than David Hartman. And David comes onto the podium, takes the mic, waits for a while, and then starts speaking. He says, when I was 7, I lost my eyesight. I wanted to play baseball, and I asked my dad at the dining table. And my dad said, let's try it and see. I tried, I succeeded, I went on to become the captain. I used to get scared of darkness. My mom used to come and hug me, and she used to tell me, look for the inner strength. That inner strength has stayed with me even to this day. My sister was not kind to me when I was growing up. She always used to tell, figure out your own way. And I figured out every single day my own way. And finally, I reached here. And today, friends, as I conclude my speech, I want to tell you this. If there is a definition for life, it is what my mom, my dad, and my sister gave me, which I'm going to share with you. The L in life is let's figure out. Let's try it and see. The I in life is inner strength. The F in life is figure out your own way. And E is what I would like to conclude in my speech at the graduation today, said David. Enjoy success, because that success is only success when it is shared with people and enjoyed with people. Today, you are all here to enjoy my success of this graduation. And saying these words, David ended his speech and thereby gave us a definition of life. Let's try it and see. Inner strength, figure out your own way, and enjoy your success. That was David and his story. He goes on to become the most successful radio jockey, radio host, by listening to patients and counseling them and solving their problems. And he goes on to live a well utilized life. But what is the message for all of us? Today, as we talk about embrace the change, don't you think this definition, what David gave us, is appropriate for each one of us? Change is constant. So is life. But the attitude with which we will live our life is what makes us what we are. So friends, I would like to say only this. Let's use this definition of life and look at our lives and see where we can apply this. Because if we can do this successfully, trust you me, lockdown or no lockdown, it doesn't make a difference. In fact, some of the optimists I speak to say that this lockdown is a blessing. Now, they may have any reason to call it a blessing, but they are looking at the brighter side of life with that newfound definition. So, friends, today, what I'm here to share with you is just this. Let's embrace the change, but embrace it with the definition of life. I thank you for this opportunity. I thank the division and the district for embracing the change and serving the members. Because in Toastmasters, I always believe members come first. Members make this organization. And as leaders, our only responsibility is to serve the members to the best of our capacity. So I think the district, the division, the area, and your club leadership deserves a great deal of gratitude for doing this. And I'll be the first person to salute them for their service amidst these testing times. Thank you once again for this opportunity. And I think I have maybe 7 more minutes left in my time. I will use that for some questions if there are any. Thank you once again, and back to you, Sharon.
Thank you, Toastmaster Chandrashekar. That was amazing. I mean, things that I took back personally was, rising up to occasion and living up to our commitments, like how we were talking about teachers initially, and to find the inner strength to fight the darkness and to embrace the change. And finally, building an attitude that is the essence to actually embrace the change. Thank you. We'll now take a few questions, if that's okay, Toastmaster Chandrasekhar.
Absolutely.
All right. So attendees, please feel free to post your questions in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we can do that. So we already have a question for you, Toastmaster Chandrasekhar,
Yeah.
which is, was there any real life event which inspired you to make India free from rabies?
Oh, yeah. Many of them. I would
Mhm.
recollect one since I am in education, and this one touched my heart. But prior to that, I would like to say, why did I even look at rabies as an initiative to do it? My own brother-in-law, who's no more, we lost him 3 years ago, had served 35 years of his life in identifying, or rather researching on a vaccine for ending rabies in the country. Unfortunately for us, we did not realize his value and worth when he was alive, because when he passed away, after 6 weeks, we got a call from Dalai Lama's office. And Dalai Lama said, uh, his office said that Dalai Lama is in Bangalore and he would like to meet your sister, that is the wife of Dr. Madhusudana. So we were actually stunned, but then we gathered our courage to wrap our heads around the situation, and then finally went and met him at Hotel Ashok in Bangalore. And let me tell you this, he spent 3 hours with my sister, and in that entire 3 hours, he said only one thing: your husband was a great soul, he served humanity, and he will never be forgotten. That one statement from Dalai Lama actually made me to look up the work what my brother-in-law had done. And I was surprised that when you take the injection now, when you are bitten by a dog, from 14 or 17 injection, it has come down to 7 injections, is because of my brother-in-law's intervention. The intradermal method, that is not taking the injection on the part where it is stuck or where it is bitten or around your stomach or navel, and now it is on your shoulders or on your skin, is basically because of his invention. So for me, that day, respect changed, life changed about this. And coming to the question, what is the real life incident which inspired me, was I read a newspaper article after we started talking about creating a foundation in his honor and taking his work forward, where one of the student who was in grade 10th, the day his exam results were supposed to come, he's a Pune based student, the day his result was supposed to come, the day before that, he got bitten by a dog and he died. In fact, he was not bitten on that day before the exam result. He was bitten much before, but then it was not diagnosed well and he passed away. And the worst part, the next day when the result came, he topped the Pune division in that exam. That child could have been a scientist, an advocate, a businessman, an entrepreneur, or maybe the prime minister of this nation. But we lost him for no fault of him. That was the incident which made me think that this is the time to work towards eradicating rabies. And that's when we constituted the foundation with my sister, my brother-in-law, but then we started the work. Thank you.
That is such a touching story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We have
Thank
a
you.
couple of questions more. The next one
All
is,
right.
in this lockdown, what is your suggestion for students and knowledge seekers to explore opportunities? This is from Toastmaster Yashwant. The previous question was from Toastmaster Farha.
Okay. So I think the first thing is lockdown or no lockdown should not affect you. It will only affect your routine. Okay, you might have to get up and get ready and go to office in normal days. Today you don't have to do that. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But the second part is more interesting for me and I want to spend more time there. How do you explore opportunities? I think the first thing what we need to understand is you got to identify what you want to pursue your opportunity, in which field you want to pursue your opportunity. Is it with respect to health? Is it with respect to relationship? Is it with respect to career? Is it with respect to money? Make no mistake, these are the broad four categories in life for anybody: health, relationship, career, and money. Identify that and then start role modeling. Look at who is the best in that particular field, whoever it is. It may be an Indian and not an Indian, it doesn't matter. And then look at his life or her life. Look at their autobiography if there is one. Otherwise, try to find out certain things, because today in this time of internet, you can find out anything about everyone and see what they did and what they did not do well, because you got to do what they did well and you also need to avoid what they did not do well. With this framework, you can explore anything and everything. And I must tell this, you will be successful maybe before even they got there. That means if they have taken 8 years to get there, you will get less than that. So that's the simple way to explore any opportunity. Identify health, relationship, career, or money, and then start role modeling. Thank you.
That is a wonderful approach to take. I think that brings a lot of clarity to a lot of us. While we have more questions, I'm going to just take one more question because I think it's probably the most interesting question here, and that is by Toastmaster Rajshekhar.
Rajshekhar, I'm drinking water, no tea, no coffee. All right.
So, yes, the question is, what are you drinking in that huge jug? So, it's water.
It's water, yeah.
All right. With that, we come to a close for our keynote session. But thank you so much, Dr. Chandrasekhar. It was indeed a privilege for us to hear you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed connecting with all of you, and maybe get back to the old way and style of doing ORAFEST as soon as possible. But that does not mean that in no way this is not good. This is great. We are embracing the change, but there's no fun in Toastmasters conferences without selfies and hugs and all that. Of course, we'll wear a mask, but we'll still continue to hug each other. Thank you.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's the emotion I'm sure all Toastmasters present here share. I'm sorry, I muted myself. My mistake. So, yes, after that wonderful speech, I think we all need to take a break so that we allow that inspiring and delightful message to settle in. So, folks, our Zoom master will unmute the audience during the break, right? So, you're free to network with each other during these 10 minutes. Alternately, attendees, do not leave the meeting. Instead, you can probably turn off your video and mute yourselves. So, right now, the time is 4:30 p.m. We will be back at 4:40 p.m. sharp and resume with the Division G International Speech Contest. So, yes, come back right in. Zoom Master, please unmute the audience. Thank you.
What's up, everybody?
Tea time. Nee, parting.
Nandini, can you please create a breakout room?
Yeah, I did, Karan.
Yeah, for the ISC contestants.
Okay, all the ISC contestants, right?